All right, everybody, welcome back. Slim, Slam, Bandwagon Fan, episode 3. I'm Slim. To my right, we know him, the big Chucky man, Slamma. To my left, that's the Bandwagon Fan. How are you tracking, boys? Having a good week?
Mate, happy to be here also this week. It's a pleasure to be here.
You are just always on the ball with that kind of stuff. Chucky, how are we looking?
Fantastic. Can't wait, mate. Let's get straight into the North.
Feeling good?
What do we got first up?
Well, we have something just before we get into the North tonight. And I know that we didn't start the stock exchange last week particularly well.
Not at all. Did not start well.
It was a tyre fire.
We had a few issues with understanding the concept, but I promise you this week we're going to jump into it at a rate of knots. So with that being said, and hopefully without jinxing myself.
Sounds like a Blazers guarantee.
That's right. We're yet to introduce one of those. But anyway, stock exchange. Tonight, we're talking tight ends. We kind of alluded to it last week with the Gronkowski conversation. And I'm really keen to hear what you boys have to say here, because I think there's going to be, a couple of bit of a divisive conversation to be had. But anyway, that's enough about me. Chucky, to try and rid myself of my issues of last week, if you were going to sell one of the top 5 tight ends, according to CBS Sports, being Kelsey, being Kittle, being Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, and forgive me if I say this wrong, Darren
Waller, I think.
Waller?
Yes.
Any of those 5, would you sell any of them?
Yeah, I'd sell Darren Waller.
Right.
And if we're talking about a little penny stock that I might bring in, I don't even know if I'd bother, Blaze.
No penny stock whatsoever on offer.
What I'm saying here is I think the best 4 tight ends in the league are so much so on their own level that it would be disrespectful to the 4 of them to bring another one in.
I see. That's a strong opinion.
That's pure disrespect to one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
Oh, here we go.
The one and only Robert Gronkowski. I am selling Darren Waller, getting rid of him. He's had one good season.
I think that's probably the sticking point, isn't it? You've only had 1 year. We're not sure that you're actually that good yet. But
I think he fluffed around at Oakland for a bit and then he ended up at Baltimore, and then had a good year last year.
I believe he's still at Oakland.
Oh, have I just...
You're thinking of Mark Andrews, are you not?
Yes.
Mark Andrews had
mix it up.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to call you out for it, Shinazi, but I had to.
He's irrelevant because he's not the one and only.
I'm going to call you both
Gronkowski
out because 1, he's not at Baltimore, and 2, he's not in Oakland.
He's at Las Vegas.
Because they're in Vegas.
Very good,
It's
Chucky.
a Washington football team scenario all over again.
Very good, Chucky.
Point still stands. I reckon I had the stats right. Team's wrong. We'll get that right one day.
That'll happen.
Unsubstantiated is the name of the game here.
You can't get through one stock exchange without having a massive mare somewhere along the way.
Evidently, we've got roadblocks everywhere with this one. That was good save.
So,
Good
done well.
save.
He's done well. Jim Tiki, don't worry about that one.
Yeah, you could just tick that one off, Jim. We actually have a live audience today. We've got Jim Tiki in the booth.
We
do. He's loving it.
Our newly signed on editor has joined us in the podcast room.
For a very small amount of money as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're talking pennies.
Well, isn't he paying us $30 a week?
He's investing.
Yeah, actually at the moment it's well, we don't have to get into the financial aspect of it.
But Blaze, before we carry on with anything else, NFC North or AFC North tonight, I just want to go back over one little thing we spoke about last week.
Of course, I'd love to.
And that's the Slammer's guarantee that I gave out last week.
Right.
Now, I've come up with an idea. Anytime I get a Slammer's guarantee right for the year, I'm putting on the crown.
You're gonna wear a crown.
I'm going to put on the crown.
Anyone...
This is a Slammer's guarantee satisfaction of me getting one right. And after what I said last week...
You're crowning yourself.
I'm crowning myself. Yeah,
okay.
I will.
Can
I'll do it lots of times.
ask for some clarification on this? Will this be limited to one guarantee per episode? If that guarantee is right for the week coming?
No.
Because what if you hand out 3 guarantees and only one's right? You're still going to wear the crown because it's a guarantee.
I'll have to wear the crown once and I'll have to wear the clown hat twice that weekend. But you'll probably have to wear this more often than
There's only one clown here, mate, and he's wearing a crown.
He's wearing a crown.
What you need to know is the Slammer's guarantee that I've 100% got right from last week is the Jags getting the number 1 pick. Because since I said the Jags would get the number 1 pick, they've managed to cut Leonard Fournette and trade away Yannick Ngakoue. Now, if that doesn't say we're going to have the number 1 pick... I don't know what does.
I mean, obviously, Gardner's got his back up against the wall with your breakout star, Chris Conley.
Yes.
In a couple of weeks' time.
He is well and truly up against it.
Probably the 2 pieces that we neglected to mention last week on, talent for the team.
Yeah.
Both gone.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't have heaps anyway. And
maybe
like you said, they didn't have any outs because no one wanted them.
Might have been the issue.
Must be absolutely shattered after getting
he would be
signing there or trading there.
Maybe the Bengals.
But that's enough of the crown.
Yeah, well, you've obviously you've launched your own segment there without much
the segment was already there. It's just
you're
the crowning
one
of
part,
my own segment.
You're one part of a 3-man team, and you've just run that yourself. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's good.
Well, hopefully it goes down better than the 3 and 4 Super Bowls for Sanders.
Yeah.
Because I'd hate to call you out on that, but he played in the Super Bowl with Denver.
Yeah.
They did not play in the last 4 years. Was that 4 years?
50.
And
Super Bowl 50.
Yep. And then he also played with the Steelers, which was that start of the decade. So that's a long 4 years. So it's going to be a long time of you wearing crowns, I reckon.
Well, that's fact checking. That's fact checking and used.
I mean, the timeline was out, but the fact's there. He's been to 3, and if he goes to the 4th one this year, he'll be the first person ever to go to 4 with 4.
And that's just like if Brady wins this year, that will be 7.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's far.
We did touch on him last week. I don't think we need to revisit it just yet. Once the games start, I'm more than happy to get stuck into the fact that they are just going to lose games you expect them to win all the time. All the time. And that's just my...
Not so happy to be here anymore, Blaze.
All right. Like we always do, I guess, a touch rambly. A touch rambly through the intro, but that's all right. We're screwing up. We're going to have a look at the AFC North first up. Chucky, I always go to you first. What do you got for us in the AFC? And I think I might have a sneaky suspicion on who you might have go on top of the AFC.
Yeah, AFC North is not a hard division really to pick on who's going to win it. Yep. I've got the Ravens going 13-3.
Very good.
Which I think conveniently worked out so that the Chiefs still got the top spot. So that's funnily enough how that's worked out.
Some creative
13-3.
Yeah.
So according to the poll,
back and had a look at his. He's had his look at the wins and losses. Oh, they might lose that one.
Chiefs number 1 seed. I had to do some creative moving because I gave the Ravens a win over the Chiefs in week 3 in Baltimore. So a tied record wasn't going to give the Chiefs the number 1 seed. Yeah. So obviously I had to make sure they lost.
We might have to have a chat with Tiki. I know he's sitting right here. We've mentioned him a couple of times to get the old Zach Galifianakis hangover when he's coming down the escalator with the maths going. That's a bit of Chucky about that, trying to figure out how he's going to get the Chiefs the first.
That would have genuinely taken him a week too.
It
was a long
That's the definition of cooking the books. That was.
It was a long night.
Yes, that's all right. That's all right. They're going to be a strong team, and I think their strength of schedule Schnars will probably bring up is pretty light.
Well, no, you mentioned that. AFC North's pretty much got the easiest strength of schedule out of everyone. Yeah. I think the Ravens have the easiest, then obviously followed by Pittsburgh, Browns, and then the Bengals. Mm-hmm. The key things to point out there for all of these, not all of these teams, I'll limit it to saying it's the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. Yep. They play the Bengals twice, they play the Jags, they play the Giants, and then they play the Washington football team.
See,
5 wins.
You fancy yourself in all those contests, home or away. I would
rest the starters. Rest them.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Maybe if
That's
you
got some
maybe if you got some wins in the bank, you might consider doing something like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk the fans. 12.5 wins, 63% reckon overs. Now that's massive.
That's a massive number.
13 wins is a massive year, Chuck.
That's a huge win. You can't have a lot of mistakes.
Well, I have them for 14-2.
But mind you, both of you do.
We do both have them over. But if I don't think you'd throw your money behind. It's a bit risky.
It's also, I think, one of those things that we've spoken about many a times. It's once you have that year where you peak and you break out, teams also put a lot more effort into investigating how you play to try to nullify your offense. 100%. And particularly Lamar Jackson broke out last year. Coming in this year, teams are going to put a lot more effort. And they've had
the heat comes onto you pretty quick.
Exactly right.
You learn.
I think with their quarterback situation more than anybody else's quarterback situation as well is if he goes out injured, I don't think there's another quarterback. Like, they have RG3, but I don't think they have another quarterback that plays the exact same sort of way. Whereas with other quarterbacks, it's more of a plug and play where they play the exact same style of football. Like, there's no one else playing the way that Lamar does. So if he gets injured,
dissimilar, are they? RG3 and
yeah. I mean, he's got some coverage ability, but I think the things they want to do in terms of like what Lamar is capable of.
I think what I'm trying to say more is that, like, if he gets injured, their win-loss column will be more affected than another team. Like how the way Matt Moore was even able to come in at Kansas City last year and play serviceably,
kind of handle it
to get them like 3-1 through that stretch.
I still think they've got a great defense, and obviously defense helps win a lot of games.
Well, massively.
So speaking of that defense,
it has got a bit lighter on, hasn't it?
They picked up Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
From the Jags.
Yes, which is good.
In the fire sale that Jacksonville were happening.
Absolute fire sale.
And then Sunday morning
garage sale. Everything must go. Everything must get down.
Genuinely.
Look at him.
Was he beautiful? We'll give him to you for a 5th. Or a 6th even.
I think they go to a 5th.
Yeah.
For Calais Campbell.
And that's a big big boy and a very good defender.
He's still actually their highest rated Madden player at 95.
That's good. Is that your shade or you?
No, that's not my shade. That's not my shade.
Okay.
Interesting enough, their draft here was actually really good.
Yeah.
They picked up.
For where they had to pick.
Yeah, they picked up Queen at middle linebacker at the end of the first round, who was like really good, had been touted as going higher than that.
Yeah, very highly rated.
So picked up a bit of a steal there. And then they still got J.K. Dobbins in the second round. I think they traded up for that one. But still, like, the running back there, like...
He's looked good in a couple of clips I've seen too, J.K. Dobbins.
That's a really good first 2 weeks.
Catching balls from Lamar and some, some pretty nice hands, considering he's a running back. And I think those... we
do tend to find, though, a few running backs come around in the second and third rounds. Yeah. They're not as... People aren't investing as much in them.
The first one went at pick 32.
Yeah. But, like, you just look at some of those ones that have gone in the top 10 picks previously and just bottomed out and done absolutely nothing. Like perfect example, Leonard Fournette, who I'm sure we spoke about earlier and we'll speak about a bit this season, because where he goes could change the picture for some of the teams, especially with depth issues at running back.
Think you're close in the Super Bowl window, and Fournette, I know we mentioned David Johnson, excuse me, last week. Leonard Fournette not long ago was a real threat at running back.
I think you'd rather have Leonard Fournette than David Johnson.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And if you get a chance to put someone of that caliber into the mix when you might be close.
Yeah,
look at the way San Francisco, they ran a 3-headed dragon and all the way to the Super Bowl, really. If you've got a good one, or if you think you could improve there and it could push you over the top, Fournette's going.
And he's still young enough that he's still young enough that he's like relevant there. He's not 24. Over a cliff. Like he's not getting on. Yeah, he'd be 25.
He's younger than us, mate.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
If no team wants to commit to him long term, though, does he take the year off because he doesn't want to risk it because he wants a long-term contract?
Well, he might. He might.
I think
there's not heaps of suitors for him at the moment.
I think the interesting thing about him, though, I think that's what I'll say about that is they said they couldn't get a deal done or whatever. I think that's because everybody else knew that Jacksonville didn't want him. They don't really want him to play because they don't want to be any good this year.
I reckon Cam Newton about it.
I reckon everyone's thinking they're eventually just going to waive him or cut him or just get rid of him. And if we think we've got the best offer for him, we might be able to pick him up on the cheap without trading away anything in return for him.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how we got to Fournette for an extended period of time there, considering.
Oh, it's big news.
It is massive news, and I think that's what
we're. Him and Earl Thomas at the moment are the two biggest sort of.
We're always going to want to.
Yeah, there you go. Earl Thomas is out. He's done. Yeah, and has still yet to sign with anybody.
And again,
surprising we didn't join the dots there. Ravens, Earl Thomas. Yeah. But anyway, Leonard Fournette, Ravens. Maybe it's going to happen.
Maybe the fans at home can get in the I don't know the owner's name of Baltimore.
Don't look at me, mate. They're in Maryland.
The old Cleveland. He moved.
Not more dead silence. We don't want any more dead silence.
He moved the Browns from Cleveland.
Not on the Commuters podcast.
On the Commuters podcast, can we afford to have more dead silence? Let's move right along here to maybe your Madden shade with the Ravens. And we can have a chat about the Madden Kings, the Cleveland Browns, after that.
Well, so true. My Madden shade, actually interesting. I just referenced him quite briefly. But RG3, his rating is a 66.
Yeah.
That's remarkably low for a bloke that was like the NFL Rookie of the Year 1 year. Like,
is this contradicting what you were saying last year about how some players are 1 year and some players are 4 years, though?
Yeah, I know, but 66 still seems like pretty low. Like,
so I think you see 66 is pretty harsh.
Yeah, that seems pretty harsh.
As a general rating, 66 suggests you're like that UDFA.
Well, when you're talking about like third rounders in the draft come in and they get like a 73, 74, I reckon 66 for a bloke that's been the NFL Rookie of the Year.
But on that logic,
66 is pretty low.
Yeah, I mean that stands up. And again, if you are watching and you work for Madden back in the States,
Slamma's looking for a second job.
I will say this though, I did have to look pretty hard for the Madden shade here in Baltimore. I was struggling to find one.
It's a pretty strong.
That's how I ended up getting down to like page 3 and seeing a 66 rating.
Right.
Did you find a breakout player for Baltimore?
I couldn't really find one because not a lot of their players were young and like hadn't been doing a lot. But I just went both the two blokes.
What do you got for a Schnauzer?
Your Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood
Brown.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I reckon game 1 last year he absolutely blew up.
He killed the Dolphins.
Yeah. Might have been around the 200
He might well have the best name in the NFL too, bit of Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat.
Not surprising from the bloodlines he comes from. Like
Hollywood
Antonio Brown, cousin, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Likes to hype himself up. Be a bit
Hopefully
of an
not quite as big
a
diva than young Antonio. But that's
Baltimore generally don't put up well with divas though. They're pretty,
Yeah, they're cutthroat.
Yeah. So
well, you see what happened with Earl Thomas. He acted up a little bit at training and next minute.
I mean, they did put up with Ray Lewis for a long time though.
That's probably fair.
He had a few, shall we say, off-field
indiscretions.
I don't know.
I reckon that's enough on that.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns. I think will probably be next off the rank. I know you've got them a bit lower than than Sam does. Schnazi.
So I've got bit of context. I've got the Steelers going 11-5, where Sam's got.
I have the Browns going 11-5.
Where Sam's got the Browns.
It's a bit of a standoff there.
Yes.
But
so who are we talking about? Browns
to round that off, we'll go Browns.
I want to go Browns.
I've got Browns 10-6.
Okay.
And
what do the fans have it?
Fans, we put the line out on our socials at 9.5 wins, and 61% have gone under, which is surprising because as I tried to do last week on the stock exchange, I tried to hype them up a little bit.
You did.
But the hype train's well and truly died off.
You've hyped them up, and now you've got them third in their own division.
As the bandwagon,
10 wins though.
Has the bandwagon hit the skids?
It'd probably get them into the playoffs.
It's not quite going along as smoothly as it might have previously, has it?
Yeah, I've got a bit more to talk about the Browns when we get to the Browns, but we'll go to the Steelers. So
okay,
I thought we were talking
about the Browns.
We're talking about the
But hey, it's your show.
Mark it down, Jim Teague. Browns.
It's your world. We're just playing in it, bro.
Browns, as I said, 10-6. My biggest question mark for them is they've brought in a new coach.
Yep.
Going to have a little bit of a new scheme going this year, coming off the back of an average year.
Yep.
Limited training camp. They've got all the pieces. Can they just put it together to work? Might start the season off slow and then build into something nice.
Yep.
As we said before, they've got the 5 wins in the bag. So I think they're going to be around that 10-6, probably 9-7 mark, but I predict they'll start the season a little bit slow. But by the time you come to the back end of the season, could be a real smoker to have a run like the Titans did last year.
You got to click into gear. I think with like a team like that, they're so confidence based. I think they're going to be at their best if they get a run three or four on the trot, and they're starting to feel real good about themselves. They'll look $1 million.
I think to end that too. Mayfield last year, I believe, had the second most interceptions in the league at 21.
Yeah.
Which
wouldn't surprise me at all.
Behind your mate Crab Legs.
Behind my mate Crab Legs. Got to mention that out there. But it's just he seems like a confidence player too, like you just said. So,
100%.
if he starts the year, keeps the ball, hits the receivers, Odell's firing, they could go off and they could be a real...
Well, we were talking about running backs before in a 1-2 punch kind of situation. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
don't get much better than that.
That is a massive
Doesn't get much better.
I don't think it gets better than that.
No, I'd say that's probably the best 2 running back punch in the whole league.
Some people that might be relatively new to the NFL probably don't... they might, but they probably don't remember Kareem Hunt at the Chiefs before he got... released
into a little bit of trouble.
After indiscretion.
Bit of off-field activity.
Correct.
Yes.
Never a good idea to do what he did. But anyway, he was a certified Jet, and he was making his name massive in
him
the
and
NFL.
the Cheetah.
Yep, him and the Cheetah. Probably both trending on that same wavelength, really, at the same time. And then happening to him, he dives off. Tyreek keeps going up. But
Chiefs would have won the Super Bowl if he never got...
I think if you're the Browns, you got Chubb who can just run anyone over. And Kareem Hunt, who is not more of a necessarily, but he's a real catching threat. Yeah, he's almost that fourth out of the backfield.
They've made 2 decent free agency acquisitions as well. They brought in Austin Hooper from Atlanta,
which is massive,
the tight end, which is a great get.
To
pair with David Njoku as well, which is actually quite an interesting little tandem there as well.
They've got weapons. We talked about Tampa Bay's weapons last week.
Their offense is absolutely stacked.
There's a reason why they dominate on Madden.
They've got 2 decent tight ends. They've got 2 good running backs, and they've got a bunch of good wide receivers. And then they also picked up Jack Conklin from Tennessee.
Right tackle. Yeah. So they've shored that up because I think Baker, he doesn't seem like the most stable guy in the pocket at the moment.
He's erratic.
And that was they spent their first pick in the draft on an offensive tackle as well.
So they've got 2 tackles in.
And then they got Grant Delpit in the second round. The
injured
safety out of the LSU.
Yeah, injured is he?
One thing the Browns do lack though is a top 5 tight end.
So they don't have one.
I just told you that they bought in Austin Hooper.
They've got Austin Hooper and Njoku.
I know.
If I go back to the stock exchange.
You should it back to the stock exchange.
Only 5 teams can have a top 5 tight end.
You were pretty much selling everyone.
But I'm just saying, they've got...
He's trying to tie you up.
A second-tier level one. They're not... Austin Hooper's not a third-tier level tight end.
Yeah.
He's a decent tight end. They've got another decent tight end in David Njoku.
Have you got a breakout? Is Austin Hooper your breakout by any chance?
No, my breakout is Greedy Williams. Pick 47 the other year. He's a cornerback.
Yeah. Defensive, you don't love your defensive picks usually.
Yeah, I know, but I've gone out of the. I've gone left to center again.
You must have had a moment.
I just love keeping the boys on their toes and the fans. I love keeping the fans.
Mainly the fans. The fans.
So he had 47 tackles last year, no interceptions by the look from what I could find in research.
Yep.
But yeah, and he was playing at LSU as well. So
we're not going.
Not last year.
We're not going back to that.
What was that, Ed?
Oh God, I haven't even thought about Slammer's coach impersonation for the week.
You can do Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, that is one thing I will say. No, because Freddie Kitchens is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But you would have been a dead ringer for Freddie Kitchens.
But I do think they've made a massive upgrade at coach there because, like, the other year when they had Freddie Kitchens come in at the end of the year, win a couple of games, and then they just sort of handed him the job without really having a formal process to a guy that was a special teams coach. Whereas this year they've done a proper process. In my opinion, they still hired the wrong guy. I would have been taking Robert Saleh out of San Francisco, but that's they can do what they want.
Is he the breakout coach of the year this year? Is this what you're saying?
100%.
Robert Saleh?
No.
Oh.
Well, the subject we're on.
Stefanski. They took the defensive coach out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, which I think was a good get, and I think that's
think
that's a grown-up decision. Whereas before it was just like a
classic Cleveland Browns decision.
Cleveland rushing it, and then because you feel sorry for Cleveland sometimes, and when they make decisions like that, you just go, you bring it on yourself.
Exactly. No pity here.
That's the hardest part. Like for some of their fans, it's just full-on stupidity.
They just make horrendous decisions.
I can pretty confidently say that Shanaz has never been on the Browns.
No.
I remember there was one time I reckon Slamma and I were so far off the Browns. It was the year they took Baker and then Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
And we were wrong.
Yeah.
We were wrong. We both said
we were wrong.
They doomed him.
Although I was not wrong about Manziel because I said from day one he was going to suck, and he sucked.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah. He had some off-field issues as well.
Well,
so
there's almost.
I'm still not sold on Baker either.
No, I'm not as sold on him.
There's a bit of Dallas about this as well. Have like the supporting cast is better than their quarterback play.
Yeah,
just more shade attack.
We cannot get through any semblance of an episode without just a little cheeky drive by.
Give him a little jab.
He got no love.
And you know what's coming? Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah. Of course it is. You've got your two little pet projects there. Let's talk Steelers. And probably about pet projects. I think you talk about Mason Rudolph and Ducky Hodges last year steering the ship. No good.
Well,
no good. But Big Ben's back.
Coincidentally, last year the Steelers finished 8-8 and had Duck Hodges and Rudolph as their quarterbacks for most of the year.
And Rudolph was critically harmed live. On Thursday
I don't think that impacted his quarterbacking abilities, though. If anything, it might have made him a little bit better.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he was not good at all.
No.
So I've got the Steelers going 11-5 based on the fact last year they went 8-8 with two quarterbacks who probably have right to be mentioned in the same category as Nathan Peterman.
Wow.
And that is chucking shade at you, Nathan. But
stares down the camera as well.
Yeah.
He knows Nathan might be listening.
Yeah,
he wants a piece of Nathan.
Being a Bills fan at heart,
it's
had to jump off him for a few years when he was playing. But no, so on the back of last year, going 8-8 with two quarterbacks who just don't have any right, as I've just mentioned, you bring back. It's an upgrade. I don't know how good Big Ben's still going to be, but it's definitely an upgrade.
He's one of the ones
How much off-season work do you reckon Big Ben's been doing?
Well, we haven't heard anything about Big Ben. You hear, Cam looks fantastic.
It's a good thing, though. It's a good thing if you don't hear anything about Ben, because normally you hear, he's looking like Slamma, he's looking large.
Jesus.
That's just an absolute drive.
I reckon Big Ben would be comfortably more than 84.5 kegs.
Oh, my God. Get this boy, Kaufman.
But no, so based on the fact that they've got upgraded quarterback, they've got a really great defense. I think they've got a pretty good draw this year, which we discussed before.
In the Miami Dolphins fire sale of last year, they picked up Minka Fitzpatrick, which is a good get, and I think they've done any improvement this offseason, Chuck, really?
So they picked up Eric Ebron at tight end, which is probably a position for a while they've been lacking a little bit in, which is probably good for them. And then they picked up Wormley, the defensive tackle, as well. Mm-hmm. And then to pair with Juju, they picked up, I think his name's Chase Claypool, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now, he's interesting. He's my breakout player as well, which I was doing a little bit of research on the Pittsburgh website, and they are very hot on him. Now, funnily enough, Pittsburgh knocked a really nice Christian kid out of Notre Dame. Funny.
Yeah.
But, so he had a fairly average...
Who would have thought?
Yeah, they love a nice, clean bloke. Now, so had not a great first 3 years in college football, but then last year sort of exploded. I think he's 6'4". Went over 1,000 yards, had 13 touchdowns, 66 receptions, and was picked 49 in the draft. So I think they're pretty hot on him.
They'd be happy with that.
Become a nice second fiddle to Juju, which would be
since AB's gone, he kind of needs his. I mean, Juju's now the Batman.
Juju, he's sort of sitting in. Is he your wide receiver 1 or is he a wide receiver 2?
Yeah,
and I think they were hoping he was a wide receiver 1, and when Brown left, and that plagued them all off season and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, but we've got to remember too that he had to play most of last year with like Ducky and
Rudolph
the Red Nose. So like he could have Big Ben throwing him balls again. And
but I do think it's a lot harder when he was probably last year for the first time ever. He was getting double teamed.
100%. Yeah, probably bad timing.
Yeah,
very
horrendous
unlucky
timing. Yeah,
so
drop off in quarterback play and becoming wide receiver 1.
Yeah, in a team that's under the pump anyway.
Yeah. So I think with that one to round that out, the fans we had at the line at 8.5 and 56% have gone under, which is in line with what Slamma's saying over here.
Yep. Standard from the fans.
You'd be
the
pretty
fans
close
and me
you
are on one.
You might be putting that crown back on.
Well, look, I'd imagine I'll be doing it lots of times.
Of course you will. Of course you will.
Can't wait to burn it.
Do you want to get my my Madden shade?
Let's get it out the way and let's talk about the number 1 pick.
So the Madden shade is Devin Bush, the bloke they picked at inside linebacker last year. They have only rated him a 76, which I think is just not good enough. He had 109 tackles last year.
Huge.
2 interceptions, 4 forced, 4 fumble recoveries, I should say, and 1 that he returned for a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, they're great numbers.
76 is not high.
They are fantastic numbers. But again, we come back to
he had to fill into the shoes of Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, well, we come back to a similar point raised before, though. Are we talking Madden ratings off 1 year?
He's only had 1 year.
Yeah, well, I know. But, like, at what point do you jump in? He came in as a rookie at...
He's playing in a great defense.
71, and then he's going to jump to an 85.
For a few years, this hasn't been a great defense, and I think the work that he did last year has turned this defense around a fair bit as well. I reckon he's significantly improved.
You've got some good pieces there now, though.
Like with TJ and Minka and TJ as well. But I think he deserves to be higher than that. And
from what you've just told the fans, fair enough. I reckon he's definitely underrated, and I reckon this time next year we'll come around and we've just lost the bandwagon fan flag.
I've almost lost my microphone as well on the way through.
She's all gone.
That's pretty much how the Chiefs season's going to go right there, folks. Thanks for coming. We'll wrap that up.
That is not a... I mean, that is not an omen. Oh, we had the number 1 rule, and I've blown it.
You two have both blown it.
I must apologise. I like that. Now,
let's get into the Bengals. The number 1 keeps calling them, who are in fact the Cincinnati Bengals.
The number 1 pick in the 2019-20 draft,
announced by Ed Ogeron is
that is poor
capital Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow, the king of LSU.
He is a interesting prospect.
Yep.
I think we all agree he might run into some
difficulties.
There'll be
some teething issues early, but he's certainly got a massive ceiling, and I think they wouldn't be upset about having that pick by any means.
No. But did they make the wrong pick?
No.
In your opinion, as a dynasty building option, perhaps, but certainly I think if they didn't pick Joe Burrow that year, there might have been riots in the streets in Cincinnati.
Especially I don't know how many riots there would have been if they'd picked
a local boy, Cincinnati.
Well,
Joe Burrow, Ohio. Yeah. I think there would have been some concern that if you're not going to pick your homegrown superstar college talent when you've got the pick and he's the hottest thing in
I'm not
football.
sure how upset a lot of them would be if you pick Chase Young, though.
Okay, well, fair enough. But
and then
I think there probably would have been some right.
You build your defense a bit with Chase Young, and then you compete with the Jags for the number 1 pick next year.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Bengals
you have a tank off.
Have a tank.
I've got him as a tank off.
Is that 1/3 of Migos?
Moving right along.
So, fans at home, we gave you the line 3.5. The fans have gone 53% over, which ends up right where I've got them, and that is 4 and 12.
And that's going against the Chuck Man.
What do you have?
I've got them 2 and 14.
Yeah. So you think they're going to struggle again?
I do. I do think they're going to struggle.
They're probably unlucky in division.
Based on the fact that they haven't picked up a hell of a lot other than Joe, and the supporting cast there is not great.
Might have AJ Green back this year.
Can I ask?
Some kind of form? So that should be handy.
A bit of an explanation just from your end. I'm going to call you out here.
Okay.
You've got them winning 4 games, which are going to be...
Who's the Bengals? You've got them winning 4. I've got them winning 2.
Yeah. So that just ruins everything I'm going to say. I'm just going to have a sip of my wine.
Oh, were you about to bake yourself inadvertently then? That's what was happening then?
No, I was going to bake Sam about the Steelers because they're apparently only going to win... What's that? 8 games, and I don't get it still.
Are you well?
What are you trying to say?
What is going on with you?
You just got me really rattled with the Steelers having 8 wins.
You take 2 minutes and just contain
I'll go back to my notes.
Yeah, just have a look, have a read.
Give yourself a minute.
Welcome to the Slim Slam Show.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Blake.
Ins and outs, the Bengals,
Ins and
and a breakout, please.
Okay, no
please
worries,
steady this ship.
No worries.
Which is run into rocky water.
Hasn't it? Snazzy water. So they've picked up
Flag
Von
fell
Bell.
down and I've just lost it.
So they picked up Von Bell at safety from New Orleans. It's a pretty decent get. And they also picked up Trey Wayne. So obviously the secondary was something they wanted to fix up in the offseason. He was from Minnesota.
Concerted effort.
And then they picked up Burrow at pick 1. And then they picked up Higgins, the wide receiver out of Clemson
I like
as
T.
well.
Higgins.
Yep.
I
So
like
that's
T. Higgins.
and now they've got John Ross, T. Higgins, who are both very quick.
And obviously
so
AJ Green coming back.
And AJ Green coming back, who's a huge target. But they did lose Tyler Eifert.
Which is, I think, as a young quarterback, tight end is such a safety net for you. That's that quick dump.
That quick little
and
dump
so
up the
to
middle.
not have someone like that could be dangerous. I don't know much about their line.
But they do still have Mixon.
Yes, well,
So
that's
He's
true.
on an extension, I reckon.
Yeah, signed a massive extension.
4-year
4
deal
year,
today.
60
Mixon,
mil, something like that.
Mixon is just
a gun.
Absolute
gun.
He
He's
is
their
a
best player.
certified gun. And he could really, really help, not
Take
teach
the
Joe
load.
how to play quarterback.
Take
but
the
take the
load.
load, 100%.
Yeah, he'll massively take the load
Keep the
off.
pressure off a young kid. And
there'll
let him do his
massively
thing.
be a lot of those little 5-meter runs where he'll run around the line and just dump one off. And
The
just
talent level...
Just let Joe make three blokes miss.
The talent level that Joe played with last year compared to what he's going to play with this year is significant.
Yes.
Not saying that LSU... I'm not saying at all for a second that LSU would beat the Bengals. But I'm just saying the talent he had around him.
Oh, yeah, baby. 100%. It's going to be quite the learning. And, I mean...
Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow. 2 Joes.
Oh.
Smoky Joes.
Joe squared. Locks... No, I was
it's not very interesting.
Not 100% on that call,
I was
Blaze.
Lock, Joe, and smoking... Nah. That's just. I've caught the schnazzles.
Oh, and back to Slamma to straighten us up again. So the breakout player for Cincinnati this year is John Ross, the third, the wide receiver. Now, a few you might remember, he broke the 40-yard dash.
He's a rapid boy.
He's rapid.
He's quick.
So the first 2 games of last year, I think he actually started really well. He had like 11 catches or something over the 2 games for like almost 300 yards and a couple of scores. And then he had some injuries and stuff last year. And then obviously the quarterback play for probably his entire career at Cincinnati, other than when Dalton was there, has been pretty subpar. But under their new coach last year, he was seeing an increased role. So if he can get his body right this year and then take a step in the right direction, as well as having T. Higgins and getting AJ Green back, he could have a massive improvement on his career, I would have thought.
I think I like, and I don't like to pick between you two boys, but I do like Schnauz's 4 and 12.
Give me the hat.
I think they're a bit of a sneaky chance just to surprise a few
to win
teams.
4 games.
Yeah, well, 2 and 14.
Well, I mean,
2 and 14 stings, bro.
2 and 14 does sting, and especially when
4 and
Schnaz said that the strength of schedule there is the 27th easiest. But
you can swallow 4 and 12 as like a team that's on
okay. Well, are they going to win any of their divisional games?
Well, I think you don't know with the Browns and the Steelers yet. They're not going to beat the Ravens.
Schnaz clearly doesn't because he's got them all winning double-digit games.
No, I don't think the Bengals this year. They're going to chuck Barry right in the deep end.
Yeah, 100%.
I think they'll just be massive teething.
Who they pick up? Didn't they pick up was a safety or a?
Yeah, they picked up Von Bell. I said that.
Didn't he?
You were still over there having your stroke.
He was busy pulling himself back.
Von Bell and Trey Waynes.
Was Trey Waynes? Is he the one that got injured and he's out for the season?
I don't know.
That would be a good piece of research to have in the back pocket.
I don't know. I'd have to research.
Hard to know. Maybe the fans can hit us up in the comment section and bake us for not knowing. But
they picked up a safety or a cornerback. It might have been Trey Waynes, and he literally rocked up day one and see you later.
Just no good.
Yeah.
See, and that's what you want. That's what you want out of a prized investment when you're trying to build your secondary. You've got some really good pieces on offense now, and you want to go out and build a secondary, which I think we all agree is
1-15 now, Slam.
Pass defense in today's NFL is just fundamental to being successful.
Okay. So. Out there, thinking outside the box here. The Bengals
win. Only thinking you do.
The Bengals win 2 games.
Stop calling them the Bengals.
The Bengals win 2 games this year. The Jags win 3 games.
Yeah.
The Bengals end up with the number 1 pick again.
Yeah. I don't think it'll happen because the Jags won't win one.
If the Bengals
if they got the
number 1
they're not going to take it. They're not going to go away from Joe. There's no way. They'll take it.
They're trading it.
They'll trade it. They'll trade it. Or if there ends up being a defensive player who ends up being a Jet, they'll take him. But
they would trade it for an enormous amount of.
I don't think there's going to be any.
Oh yeah, if somebody wants, somebody will want it.
If the college football season doesn't go ahead though, it's Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, then the rest.
And then daylight, yeah.
Exactly. So
you could throw a blanket over half of
so they're going to end up with them. You reckon they try to trade down for someone who's looking to get a quarterback?
Because somebody would offer something remarkable to get Trevor Lawrence.
But what is Trevor Lawrence?
Except for the Jags, because they've got nothing left to offer.
In my opinion,
they've
he's
cleaned house.
The best quarterback to come out of college since Andrew Luck.
He is a Trevor Lawrence
generational quarterback to come out since Andrew Luck. Most sort of hyped and up there.
Well, I think that's the thing. And you and I talked about this before, have talked about this in the past. Trevor Lawrence last year, if he doesn't get pulled out of games with like a quarter to go on most of those games, he would have won the Heisman.
Yeah.
He's the best player playing college football.
Playing any fourth quarters.
No. Yeah. He's getting pulled constantly, so his stats don't look as good. And that award is very stat driven. He was the best player in college football.
6'6".
He's the best player in college football.
And he looks like he's just rolled off Malibu Beach catching waves.
He walked opposite to Teddy Bridgewater. Walks into a room. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Everybody's head
that
snaps
is that is the perfect.
But
statement.
You don't think there's going to be anyone in their front office that goes, Trevor?
100%. There would be people. It depends on how Burrow looks.
No, they won't take it. You can't move on from that pick after a year.
No, I'm not saying they would, but there would be people in
there
there
thinking,
people
turning their heads.
They'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they would. I'm just saying there
would.
there would be some people in there that'd be like.
See, I don't think they'd even entertain it because after they put a whole year worth of effort into Joe.
Yeah, I don't think you're quite getting it. I mean, they're not going to do it or not even think about doing it, but there would be an element of like, I wish we had the opportunity. Or
I think in that situation, what they'd be thinking is, wish we could have gone back a year and taken Chase Young. I reckon they'd be thinking, imagine if we could have Chase Young, one of the best defensive players to come out of college football in that long, and Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Imagine if they were our two pillars on offensive defense.
They'll be taking calls, I reckon, and seeing if they end up with the number one pick, they'll be listening to offers for Burrow. They will.
Yeah, well, that's very dependent. I don't think they'd look at offers for him.
I think they'd get offered a hell of a lot more for pick one than they would be for Burrow, especially if Burrow has a year where
especially if they're in the market to move.
If he's if he's not saying they're going to move him on, but generational quarterback, it could be the next, Tom Brady, the next Peyton Manning. It could be the next, like, you guys, you love your Pat Mahomes, who's going to be a generational quarterback. Yeah. What if this guy's the next one?
He got engaged today. Yeah. Congrats to the big fella.
Congratulations, Patrick.
Good work, Pat. Down.
He got his ring and she got his ring on the same day.
That's just special. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but I'm gonna keep my eye on that one. I'm gonna keep my eye on that.
We'll watch that. We'll watch that over the course of the journey. We've got a few more episodes to go between now and then.
What if Washington rang and said we'll give you Chase Young for pick one?
If you were the GM, if you were Dan Schneider.
That'd be sick. All right, let's move on to the North.
All right,
let's get into it.
Let's move into the NFC North. The AFC North done and dusted. We might revisit the final rankings at the end quickly, but I want to talk NFC North. Chucky, who you got going top?
Well, do we want to do mine or do we want to do Schnauz's? Because we are all over the show.
This is literally
not even close.
Last week it fried.
Yeah.
The Young Blazers circuits.
The circuits were going every
when one didn't agree. This week,
this is all over the shop.
We've got one consistent thing we do have is the Bears.
The Bears are at the bottom.
This is really testing me, like thinking on the fly, which I don't know if people at home, if the fans have realised that we do all of this on the fly. Obviously, we do a bit of note taking beforehand and do some research, but
about an hour's worth.
The chat just comes from there, and we just kind of manage it from there.
We do have a whiteboard, and on the whiteboard, it pretty much says in capital letters as
no swearing.
No swearing. Yeah. And then we have
and you two choose to ignore that.
Oh, we're just every now and then.
We're learning. It's a learning curve.
Just every now and then you forget. The point being,
where do we want to start here?
That's what I'm saying. I've got.
Should we start with the one thing we agree on?
The Bears, that's what I was going to say.
Let's start from the bottom and work our way up.
I can't remember. You know the disco the Bears have every time they win, the Bears rave or whatever it is. Not going to be happening a lot this year.
Not many blue eyes.
If you're a Bears fan out there, sell.
If they call it the Bears rave, they should really call it the Bears cave. Because that would be cooler.
That is a missed opportunity indeed. Maybe you should have a chat with someone in the know down in Bearland.
Oh, yeah, I'll get in touch.
But with that said, I don't think there are any chance to be, like you say,
there won't be a lot of cave raves happening this year.
We'll get into it and we'll deal with them pretty quickly.
Let's talk fans first.
We said fans. Here's the line, 5.5 wins. Yeah. And 79% of them are going under.
Yeah, there was not a lot of love for the Bears.
Which
the most definitive no love out of all.
Yeah, 79% would be the highest percentage we've had.
Yeah.
Which is in line with what Sam and I are saying. Mm-hmm. Predominantly more Sam. Sam's got him at 4 and 12. I have him at 5 and 11. And you know what? I'm gonna say two things, and then I'm gonna pass to Sam.
Right. Okay. Good.
Well, just say them.
Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes.
Is that it? Is that your throw?
That's the two.
Should I go now? Okay.
And what do they have in common at home? Let me tell you.
Okay.
Their season's going to go as well as the 2017 draft.
And the answer to that is...
Yeah. Do you want to explain it? Or
no swearing. No swearing.
Sam, you go ahead because I don't reckon I can contain it.
If you're not quite sure what he's referencing there, in 2017, they had a chance to draft either Pat Mahomes or Deshaun Watson.
Arguably the two best young quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, they traded up from pick 3 to pick 2, and then they took the kid out of North Carolina, Trubisky, and then Mahomes went 10 and Deshaun went 12 to two teams. So we've both seen a bit of postseason action since then.
And now
that just about sums it up.
And then I think you'll probably cover it in your additions.
Yes.
For the Bears, who have they added at quarterback?
So they've added Nick Foles at quarterback.
So it's a crowded quarterback room with not a hell of a lot of clarity over who's
starting at quarterback.
You reckon Nick Foles will 100%. Start?
You don't go out and you don't go and get Nick Foles if you're not going to start him. I think they're well and truly over the Trubisky experiment, if you will. They know it's not working. They know he's not the quarterback of the future, and I think Foles is an interesting one. If you can get decent pieces around him, I think you can get decent play out of him. Trubisky has had decent pieces around him for a few years.
Foles is copping a bit of flack for Jacksonville last year, but
Jacksonville's a
he had nothing to do with that.
No.
That was not Nick.
And he got splattered. He got splattered in week 1 by the Chiefs. Like he actually got hurt, and it was just not a good.
And then Gardner
going to
but how good
Pat
is
Mahomes? Pat Mahomes could go to Pat Mahomes or Russell Wilson could go to Jacksonville and not look good.
Like.
It's not an easy place.
It's why away from my boy Trevor from my team Clemson.
Yeah. So the ins are interesting here. So they picked up Nick Foles. They picked up Ted Ginn at wide receiver. They picked up Jimmy Graham. All pretty old veterans there. So it's an interesting path to be taking. And then they also picked up Robert Quinn, another veteran.
What are they trying to do?
It seems like they think they're like borderline playoffs, and they've gone, okay.
They clearly think that Foles is going to take them over the top.
That would suggest something that you suffer from on occasion, Chucky, and that's delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, about myself usually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I meant. Got that word.
Or it just goes. The other.
Trying over his head.
No, we got it.
Yeah. Glad you laughed.
Yeah.
So heading back to it.
I guarantee the fans will love that.
No, doubt it.
What this tells me even more about bringing these players in, and also Nick Foles, is Trubisky. They are sell.
Yeah, they're off.
Because they do not bring them in if they're still trying to stick with him. Because they're not a quarterback. They're not a playoff caliber side with Trubisky at the helm.
But I think even like in the last few years, their defense has dropped off from what it was as well. They had an absolute monster defense with Khalil, and then I think their defense goes as Khalil goes.
100%.
So
100%. When you've got a man like that just tearing in and wreaking havoc, it makes it pretty easy to play defense.
Yeah, and they lost a few as well. They lost Clinton Dix. They lost Prince Amukamara. They lost Kwiatkowski. They picked up the tight end out of Notre Dame, Cole Kmet. I think they're a bit excited about that.
Top-rated tight end out
of
Notre Dame. Not a top 5. Yeah. Not a top 5, obviously. No.
Snaps, so no.
Might have been a touch of a stretch.
I don't know. Just not a lot of love there for them.
Yep.
My Madden shade is what we've already discussed, is Foles being a 71 and Mitch Trubisky being a 72.
Unders. Yeah, that's
even Chicago would tell you that's wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone and got him.
That is no love for Nick Foles whatsoever. He deserves more than that, Schnaz.
Yeah,
for a bloke that's won a Super Bowl, compared to a bloke that couldn't hit a truck.
Couldn't hit a truck.
Yeah,
if he stepped out in front of one.
If a truck was driving past, if a truck was driving past at 20 k's an hour, he'd struggle to hit that.
Oh, that's concerning. That's concerning.
All right. So how do we want to play this for the rest of the?
Well, I've had a bit of time to think about it, Schnaz, and I can tell you right now, I haven't come up with anything. So I think for me, Detroit Lions probably aren't the ticket item that
the Packers of the Vikings.
Yeah.
The Packers and the Vikings are. So maybe let's have a look at the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Which Schnazi is way off against the fans.
Schnazi is on the Lions, and let's hear why you think that they're going to go 9-7 when 68% of the fans reckon they're going to go under 6.5.
So this is purely based on. It's probably not really that reflective in the results I have for the rest of them, but I think the division's got a little bit weaker from last year. Both the Vikings and Packers are going to take a little bit of hit, although I've got the Vikings with more wins, which thinking and looking back at it doesn't make too much sense, but hey, that's life.
When did you ever?
Before Stafford got injured, they were 3-4-1.
There's a couple of lines of merging traffic in your head a lot of the time, isn't it?
And had lost to the Chiefs in that stretch.
And they had lost to the Chiefs in that stretch, the eventual Super Bowl champions. I think Stafford's...
actually a really close game as well. Like they were in front with a couple of minutes to go.
He started 8 games, threw for 2,500 yards and 19 touchdowns. If you extrapolate that to a full season, he's on pace to throw for about 5,000.
But he always puts up big numbers.
Touchdowns. And what that's going to bring, because last year I couldn't even tell you who. I think they had 3 players who played like 3 to 4 games each at quarterback.
Yeah.
And Matt Patricia's got thrown right under the bus with his depth.
Yeah.
Once Matt Stafford got injured. So bringing him back automatically adds a few extra wins, in my opinion. So I've got them at about middle of the road, 8-8 team, based on their strength of schedule, which is not that great. Now looking at something that we did write on the board.
Strength of schedule.
I have them about 8-8. I don't 9-7.
No, you've got them 9-7.
I've
not about.
I've changed. I've got them at 8-8.
He's retracting live on the
If you change them to 8-8, you got to change somebody else.
Yeah, we'll pick that up later.
No, I don't like it.
Going back to it, 9-7. They're going to win 9 games.
Back yourself in, Schnazzy. We'll be sure to call you out if you get it wrong.
But no, I just think bringing back Stafford, the defense is going to get a bit better under. Nope, not happening. Matt Patricia, the defense should get a little bit better. You bring Stafford back, the offense gets better. They're going to be a bit of a better side.
Well, they've picked up a few players on defense as well. They picked up Jamie Collins from Detroit. From the Patriots. They picked up Danny Shelton. They picked up Desmond Trufant, and they picked up Reggie Ragland, who was playing pretty decent minutes at the Chiefs as well. And then in their draft, they picked up Jeff Okunda as well from Ohio State. Yep. That's a good get. He was like pick 3 or 4.
Yep.
And then they picked up DeAndre Swift as well, at running back, which is
Georgia running back.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So you're going to have Swift and Kerryon Johnson coming out of the backfield. They're 2 young kids that are really going to crack in. So
and they
might win 10.
They didn't lose a lot in free agency either. They lost like one of their guards to Denver on like a $41 million deal, but you can replace guards.
Yeah, guards are dime a dozen.
But yeah, and they've still got TJ Hawkinson, who they picked up like 2 years ago in the draft.
Lots of love for
tight
TJ.
end, and because Iowa get a lot of love from their tight ends. They're known as a real tight end producing school. So he's actually my breakout player as well.
Do you remember what you were calling him, his nickname, when we were playing fantasy draft last year? By any chance?
Is it acceptable to say in front of the fans?
I think so.
Okay, what was it? I don't remember.
TJ showers in his undies, Hawkinson.
That is interesting. Why did I say that?
It seems a touch harsh, considering he could beat you to a pulp. But
yeah, he definitely could.
I'm probably going to take my name off this episode now. It was horrible.
You want to see yourself out? That's what
I think it was just because he wasn't playing very well last year, hence the nickname. But so he was a pick 8 a couple of years back. Only had 32 receptions, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns last year. But I think if Stafford is healthy for the whole year, and they do have now Swift obviously in the backfield, which takes the pressure off everybody else a bit, and obviously makes them think that they might be running the ball a bit. He could have.
I think TJ will have a good year.
A big year for Patricia as well as head coach.
Massive. If he goes poorly, he could lose his job.
Yeah.
And Detroit are not exactly stable.
And that's probably the end of his head coaching career as well.
Not moving.
I think it'd be good for the Motor City to get a bit of love.
That is actually a lot of good ins.
If they can see a year like 9-7, I think they'd be pretty happy. Maybe a wild card.
And you are right.
spot,
They were going
like
quite well until Stafford got hurt. And Stafford is so underrated, which leads into my Madden shade. He's only rated an 83.
Yeah, that's low for him.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah,
for a bloke
underrated,
that's been really having to carry the load at Detroit for a long time, almost single-handedly. That's just
and his best ever wide receiver,
Calvin retiring so early.
Retires early, like it's just stuff like that. The poor pricks had no luck down in the Motor City.
Megatron. Just left him high and dry.
Left him out to dry. Absolutely.
But he's got Kenny Golladay there now, who's probably. I mean, he's no Megatron. Obviously,
when did Golden Tate go to New York? Was that last year or the year before?
Year before.
Hard to say. It doesn't seem relevant though.
No, I'm just thinking about receivers that he's had while we're on topic.
Seem relevant. No,
we're not talking about
now.
So genuinely cop that on your way through.
Oh, we're talking about Megatron leaving. I'm talking about Golden Tate leaving. There's no correlation.
None.
There is definite parallels.
Anyway, so I've got them going 6-10.
6-10. So you reckon they're going to be a bit light on? That's a pretty.
I do think they've made some good additions, and I do think they'll be a better football team. But as Naz sort of alluded to before, they do have the 5th hardest strength of schedule.
6-10 is Detroit Lions, isn't it?
That's
Detroit
sort of
football.
it's what you sort of come to know and love. But
lose a couple of close ones. Win some you should.
They don't, and they're not a team they're not a team that has like an intimidating home atmosphere. Like the crowd's not going to win them a game the same way that New Orleans.
I imagine the car park
Kansas
in Motor
City
is a bit intimidating, but
probably
outside of that,
yeah. Only because Slim Shady's out there spitting bars. But
Rabbit.
Everybody the 313.
Hands up.
Anyway, so who are we going to talk next? Are we going to talk Vikings or are we going to talk Packers?
Let's talk Packers. I want to talk Packers. I know you guys are in verse here, so that's going to be a bit of a hard one.
So do we have them? Yeah, we do. We've got opposite records here. So
yeah, So let's go Packers because I know.
Explain it clearly to the fans. You tell them my records.
Yeah, so I've got the Packers going 11-5. Schnaz has got them going 9-7, and then I've got the Vikings going 9-7, and he's got the Vikings going 11-5.
So yeah, so perfect.
And
inverse.
I think that if we start with the Vikings here,
no, he wants to start with the Packers.
We're going to start with the Vikings here.
Okay.
And Slamma, I want you to read the outs first because
the Vikings
for the Vikings because 11-5, knowing the outs they do have.
Trey Waynes and Everson Griffin, they're two pretty big outs.
Stephen Diggs.
And Stephen Diggs. Yeah, true.
Which is probably the biggest of all of those.
Yeah, true.
Because I was listening to a podcast, was it last week, and Stephen Diggs was about 35 to 40% of all their yards through the air came via Stephen Diggs.
Well, yeah, and then Thielen would probably be another like 30%, and then I think the rest would be really...
Thielen goes up to wide receiver 1.
Yes.
So you've got in...
And he was definitely wide receiver 2. There's no doubt about that. He was getting way less attention.
No doubt. Yeah. You've got Justin Jefferson and probably BC Johnson having to step up. I know they've got Kyle Rudolph...
Yes.
Rudolph.
Yep.
And a bloke called Irv Smith Jr., who is a second-year rookie, I think.
Wow, you got a bit of knowledge about the Vikings.
I played a fair bit of Madden with the Vikings.
Okay.
Actually. I've got a fair bit of love for them.
I was going to say, you just rattled off a few names there.
But no, so they've got some pieces.
They did pick up a wide receiver. They picked up Jefferson, the wide receiver from LSU
That's what I was saying. Yeah, Justin Jefferson, who
another one who's good at listening.
Yeah, straight out of LSU, straight out of Coach Ed's hearing learning center. That joke is
and they did pick up Yannick. They did pick up Yannick Ngagwe this week from the Jaguars as well. Very recent.
Yeah,
I think their losses still outweigh what they brought in though. They've lost some proven talent. And
they've been pretty close.
As we alluded to last week, I think this team will win or lose based on how they go at the running back.
The fans didn't have much love for the Vikings.
How many Monday night football games do they have? That's another probably thing we need to
consider. No, the fans did. Decent love. I only set the line at 8.5, but the 63% think over, which is still alarming that obviously the opposite of that, 37% think under 8.5.
It's tight. It's tight, but you know,
they've like Kirk Cousins, genuine shout out Kirk. If you're listening, I'll have a jersey. Thanks.
Genuine. Go him. But no, every episode.
He's a good quarterback, and he's gonna. I
think good's the right word. He's not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna use any superlatives like great or awesome or Tom Brady.
I think good's the right word for it.
Great describing where Tom Brady is.
God forbid Pat Mahomes. Yeah.
You see that car? That was so Tom Brady. God, that is absolutely dirt.
You are clouding once again.
I think they've lost a few pieces, which probably puts them a little bit worse than last year. But as I alluded to before, so it might be a good segue into the Packers. I've got the Packers going 9-7. Last year, what were they? 13-3.
13-3.
Are we finished talking about Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Skid past that pretty quick.
Well, go back to it. What do you want to say?
I've got them 9-7. They've picked up some good pieces. They've picked some method, but I think massively it is going to depend on how Dalvin Cook goes. But also, the breakout player that I've got for them is Afedi Odenigbo. Now, I know, you're looking at me like, who the hell?
Can you run that one back?
Yeah, I'm just asking you to say that name one more time.
Odenigbo is the last name. Now, he had, in his last 5 games last year, he had 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery that he took for a touchdown, which I think if he can develop again more this year, he could really step up and take that spot of Everson Griffin. And it's almost like not living as much because, as you know, they've still got he went to Dallas. But they've still got Daniil Hunter.
Yeah, who's an
absolute freak. They've still got Anthony Barr. They've still got a good defense.
Eric Kendricks in the middle there, I think, as well. Yeah, so they'll be pretty strong.
They're still going to be a good team.
Yeah, I don't think
they're going to miss. I hope you think so because you've got to win the division at 11-5.
Yeah, but you know what? They're going to miss their fans too.
Yeah, they do have good fans.
They have a great fan base.
With the horn, with the Viking horn.
And the Viking clap. Yeah, which they stole from Iceland, but that's okay.
All that kind of stuff is just...
Off topic, that at the World Cup, or was it the Euros? The Euros, when they made that run to Iceland.
Yeah. Oh,
that classic was sick. If you like sporting kind of goosebump, tingly moments, watching those kind of videos back...
We might as a bit of a segue, a break away from this one day, maybe sporting moments that we love. And we're huge for crowd. Anything that increases the aesthetics of a sporting event.
100%.
And the atmosphere.
And the atmosphere, whether that be just the uniforms.
Yeah.
Oh.
Simple.
It can be as simple as a uniform.
We love it. It can be simple as a player getting involved with a member of the crowd, stuff like that. It's
I remember Eric Fisher last year grabbing the 2 beers out of the crowd, slamming it together and doing the stone
cold. Exactly. Stuff like that is what makes sport fantastic, and I think that's why people...
That is one thing that's going to hurt a lot this year with the NFL is not having that fan interaction. Seeing empty stadiums, it's really going to put.
Well, they're not all going to be empty though.
Not all going to be empty, but I think pretty much anything down the east or west coast is pretty much going to be empty.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. But hey,
Chiefs are getting some fans in, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're in Middle America.
Yeah,
they're nowhere near as.
Shout out Middle America, the Diamond Boys, if you're watching.
COVID. I think they've announced pretty much everything down the East Coast. No fans all year.
Let's talk Packers. I know you tried to move on to the Packers quickly.
Are we done with the Vikings?
Yeah, I'm happy to move on from the Vikings now.
Good. I'm glad we got the
Jim Tiki's cleared it.
We got the clear. We got the all clear from Chucky to move on to
free to
our next topic. Because I'd hate to introduce another team and then get called all the way back and restart.
Well, was that not a good breakout play?
I'm happy with it. I'm just saying.
Can we get his name one more time?
Afidi Odenigbo.
Oh, Odenigbo.
Shout out Afiki if you're listening.
Afidi. Not Rafiki from the Lion King.
Rafiki
he was just sneaking a Disney one in on you. He's back
I will not have him do another
He's
one.
back to 3-1. 3-1. Live counter going off its head.
All right, rambling. All-time high. Packers. I've got them 9-7.
Not the all-time high for it, but anyway.
Fans, we put it to you. 9.5 wins. 56% have said over.
The fans love Slamma.
Well, 56% of them do. That's not a...
That's the majority.
It's not exactly an overwhelming majority, though.
No, it's the majority.
Might not win you an election.
No. I'll take it. No, it would.
It'd go to a recount.
Yep. Anyway, so 9-7. Purely what I'm going to base... Two things I got to base this on, actually.
Oh, okay.
One, last year, I think they got lucky. And they won a few games.
Did win a lot of one-possession. I think there was like 7 one-possession games.
And that's probably on the back of Aaron Rodgers. And,
and Aaron Jones, for that matter, as well.
Both. Yeah. And how good of a quarterback he is, and, he brings his reputation.
He threw that one, like that little dime, the sinking dime in the back of the end zone, like overtime or right at the end of the fourth, which pretty much won him a game. And he had no right to hit it.
No
right whatsoever.
Which game are you talking about?
Can't remember for the life of me, but it was like almost a fade. It was almost like a fadeaway, and he just dropped it right in the back corner.
He did one of those against the Chiefs in the last quarter, and they beat us, but it wasn't. We didn't have Pat that game.
No, it wasn't.
Was it a playoff game or?
I don't want to harp on it because I can't remember. But it's just one of those things where he is capable of doing those throws that you think, how the is he doing that?
Yeah, he's a special quarterback.
He's a top 5 quarterback. He does things that other blokes just can't do.
100%.
Depending who you are, you could be thinking he's on their way out. He's on his way out. And some of those people could be sitting in the front office of Green Bay.
The Green Bay head office are thinking...
I've never been so confused by what a team did in the draft.
You don't think that he needs any support, at the receiver position or anything like that.
Or tight end or...
But you know what he does need? He needs someone to sit next to him, share a locker with him, and he needs to groom him.
Yeah.
Instead of getting support on the field.
Yeah.
It's absolutely...
outrageous.
It is
outrageous.
I think for a long time, their front office has operated in a way of... We've got Aaron, so Aaron's going to make up for the deficiencies that we have on offense. So we're going to go and address other things, and we're going to make sure that we're okay down the future. Which is not a win now philosophy, and it's kind of a weak philosophy.
Taking him for granted is the word or is the phrase that I would use and maybe.
They're not making the most of his talent.
How have you had a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback and you've only gone to the Super Bowl?
Twice.
Hold up. They've
Twice.
had
and
probably
one
once-in-a-lifetime quarterbacks.
Two. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's exactly what they got
one win out of both of them.
Oh, 100%
they've got Love, who they, rightly or wrongly think, is going to be the next Favre, the next Rodgers.
It reeks of hubris. It reeks of, we got Rodgers... And we had Favre. Now we've got Rodgers, and we're
going
to
do the exact same thing here again.
But
Rodgers is going to take Kirk Cousins' job at Minnesota.
I can't get on board with that. Like, people were talking about Rodgers when he came out as if he could have gone number 1 to San Francisco,
and he was sliding,
and he slid all the way to 20. Jordan Love was in no way going that high, and then they've picked this kid up in like their first pick, which to me seems like such a waste.
They traded up to get him.
Such a waste.
How can you rationalise that?
I'm not.
Given away
especially when
picks.
so many wide receivers are still on the board and they had a glaring need at wide receiver. Especially when they've got a good wide receiver. If they could have just had another decent wide receiver,
and they've got Lazard and Valdez-Scantling, who are both okay.
Yeah, so decent enough 3s and 4s.
And this draft was loaded with wide receivers
and then they've got a good. They massively dropped the ball. In any way that you could be thinking that they were actively pursuing a Super Bowl this year. We're talking about a team that got to the NFC Championship game, and then they're acting as if they're in a rebuild mode. Like,
bizarre.
It's just
absolutely
impossible
bizarre.
to work out.
I, for the life of me, don't get it. I think the front office is just too high and mighty and don't want to come off their perch. They go, look, we've made this work.
And they don't pay anyone. They're not a destination team. No one's coming there in free agency.
No one's.
They're
Wisconsin, aren't they?
No, yeah.
Who wants to go there and play in front of a bunch of people wearing...
They don't have one owner.
They're like the French want to go there.
They have a group ownership as well, so they don't have one strong owner making the decisions with money like that.
Well, that's evident because they're flip-flopping all over.
Not a good time to be a stronghold owner, though, especially
one of the only blokes they brought in.
Definitely not in Washington.
One of the only blokes they brought in free agency was Devin Funchess, and he's a COVID out for the year.
Yeah, so that's
at wide receiver. The only other one that I saw that it was even worth mentioning was Christian Kirksey, the inside linebacker from Cleveland.
So they got nothing. No. They got nothing coming in.
No, they lost Blake Martinez to the Giants. They lost Balaga, the right tackle, to the Chargers, and they drafted and they drafted Dylan out of Boston.
So I'm going to say it, Sam. Yeah. That is just a nothing, boring.
It's massively a boring draft.
I think that's
maybe that's the word. I can't believe I've even got him 11.
Maybe we're out of.
I think my 11 and 5 must solely be based on the fact of Aaron Rodgers.
You've got Aaron Rodgers, which is fair.
Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, which is enough to get the receiver's name is escaping.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
What if it all blows up?
That's a great first three.
What if it blows up?
I don't know how many years Rodgers has left on his contract. What if he's out there seeking a new contract, and then at the midway point of the season, they're about a middle of the table 500 side, and then the Packers go, oh look, we can get a pick in, let's trade him. And then bring in Love. Like, what if it just blows up?
Can you imagine?
They have to be going poorly.
Can you imagine them trading Aaron Rodgers mid-year?
I could.
You could imagine that. I could.
I don't think it's out of this world. Like,
I don't necessarily think you're wrong.
They haven't committed to
I think
him.
with the way they do it,
Obviously,
they're going to sit Jordan Love behind him for at least 2 years. But then I think 2 years down the track, if in his third year he's still playing and they do start going poorly, then I think maybe they pull the trigger. I don't think they'd be willing to pull the trigger this year.
No, but I'm not even saying him. What if Rodgers starts kicking up too and going, you're not even committing to me. I'm sort of, on the back end of my
tries to force his way out.
I can still win. I want to get to a team like, who's a team, like maybe what if he ends up at like Vikings? Past.
Or let's just go Bears. What if he went into... I know he's not going to go to the Bears.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Like if he went to a team like the Vikings who still have
let's say,
pieces.
what about like Cleveland? What about Cleveland are struggling this year?
Make it quick, though. We are running out of time here.
Yeah, but what about Cleveland are struggling and they're struggling at the quarterback position and they feel like they've got everything else going?
They got the pieces.
If they offer like 2 years of first round picks for Aaron Rodgers...
And Aaron Rodgers has to go, I want to leave.
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting point that you bring up. I do think that there is...
Because he did not feel the love in the offseason.
No, he was definitely... He would have... And Aaron's a moody guy at the best of times. Yeah. He would have definitely been...
Anyone would be in the weather, though.
But that was a number one disrespectful move to a man that is just so good at quarterback.
Absolutely.
And no respect. But anyway... I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that throughout the course of the year. And if the Packers do get a bit wobbly...
It's one to watch.
That is an interesting one.
If they hit the wobbles a little bit, the speed bumps, we'll see how that unfolds. But we've got plenty of time for that.
My breakout here for the Packers is an interesting one. Do you remember Rashawn Gary Schnars, who used to play at Michigan, was like remarkably highly touted coming out of high school as like the defensive player. So they took him, not last draft, but obviously the draft before. Only had the 21 tackles and 2 sacks and was picked 12 the year before. But was always in college talked about as if he was going to be an absolute superstar, and I think we've been waiting to see that, and I think it hasn't been coming. So I'm hoping this year for him, for his sake.
This is more of a Hail Mary one for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he can come out and really probably silence a few doubters and that sort of thing, and just put in a really good campaign for the Packers.
This is very in line with the whole Packers discussion, really, about what they're all about this year. That's a defensive player that he could have a great year, but no one's sneezing at him. No, no one cares.
This is an interesting one that I'll say about Green Bay. So my Madden shade is not really a shade about an individual player, but more about their whole team. I think that their best 10 players are quite good, but then I think the drop off from there around their entire team and every position is actually quite poor. So much so that their punter, yes, that's right, their punter, J.K. Scott, who was rated an 80. Is their 11th highest ranked player. Now, the other week I got angry about someone having their kicker as their best or their second best.
Second best.
The Jags, yeah.
Joshy Lambo. Shout out, Josh, if you're watching.
Now, kicker's a hell of a lot more important than punter. Now, their punter is their 11th, according to Madden, their 11th best player.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't take a punter in the second with that kind of number.
That does not bode well for your team.
Does it? I've had enough of Green Bay. I think we're gonna have to watch that space and see how we go. I think we're done.
I think we're done.
NFC North in the books.
I'm happy with it.
AFC North in the books.
AFC North in the books.
Kings of the North.
Too. I think.
So let's just wrap up, Blaze. Who did we have winning both divisions?
Well, we've got the Ravens pretty comfortably in the AFC, I think, on both sides. Yep. The playoff wild card in the AFC is a bit interesting. I think the Steelers...
I had the Browns just sneaking in.
The Steelers and the Browns are probably both around the mark there. I don't think you'll see the Bengals just yet, but they're coming for sure. And when it comes to the NFC North...
It's really all over the place.
It's up for grabs, mate. I think you could see the Packers, the Vikings, Schnars reckons the Lions might be around the mark. I think the only
Smoky.
The only thing we really agree with there is the fact that the Bears
won't
are
be any good.
past.
Yeah. And that's massively, the fans were massively on board with that.
And I know Hutchie will... the die-hard Bears fan that he is.
It's going to be a hard year for Hutchie.
Have another year of pain and suffering, and that is just the way me and you like it.
Yeah, might get a high pick and trade up again.
Maybe. So true. Maybe. Why not?
Anyways, I reckon Blaze, hit him with the socials.
Socials, baby. Instagram, Facebook, Slim Slam, and the Bandwagon fan. We're really happy to have Jim Tiki on board as the producer here. We're going to start getting that content out to you.
And we're loving that Instagram fan interaction with those polls.
Oh, massively. I think those two fronts there, we really want to interact. I know I said it last week. I think it's great for us to kind of see a little bit of a community of sorts building.
And we're loving the enjoyment out of it from the fans.
And we've had people come to us and say they want to get into the NFL and pick a team just so they can learn through us and with us and all the rest of it. So that's cool. We really love that. I want to keep that going.
Don't follow the Bears.
Don't follow the Bears. That's pretty much tip number one.
Spotify and YouTube.
Spotify and YouTube. Slim Slam and the Bandwagon fan, where you get all of your podcasts. Really subscribe to us on YouTube and keep telling your mates about us because we're seeing some real good uptake there.
Yep.
Bit of spread, and we're hoping to really continue to grow there and start to expand into some interesting areas. I think
we do need to start getting into the Twitter as well. We haven't done enough there.
Yeah, the Twitter needs a bit of love. It needs a bit of love. But we're trying some things. We're learning. I think we've always been honest with you guys from the get-go. We're still figuring all this out ourselves. But we're trying our very best. And I think everyone appreciates the effort. And I think, I'm enjoying it. You enjoying it, Schnauzer? You having a good time, buddy?
As I always said, pleasure to be here
happy to be here. That's right. So, that's all we've really got there with the socials. I think
we should mention merchandise should be on the way relatively shortly. We've still got to work out a few kinks there with suppliers and designs and things like that.
We don't want to get out too far ahead of that.
No, don't want to get too carried away, but...
Bear in mind, I know...
Keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, save your pennies up because there will be some hot merch dropping.
We've got some nice graphics with the logos and whatnot, obviously. So we're doing some work there, but just keep an eye out. We'll be sure to let you know. Don't worry about that. But anyway, I think that's pretty much going to do us for tonight, boys. I've had a pleasure, another great time talking some footy with you. So Slamma, as we always do, maybe you'll just send us out into the night.
It'll be a pleasure, Blaze. He's been Slim. I've been Slam. That's the Bandwagon fan. Good night.